everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Points of Articulation. My name's Dave, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today I'm looking at the Star Wars X-Wing T-70 X-Wing Expansion Pack. Now, the T-70 was first seen in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, for those who don't know, the T-70 is just the upgraded model from the previously seen T-65 X-Wing from the original trilogy, and it's used body resistance against the First Order. And if you're wondering, yes, you also get this ship in the Force Awakens X-Wing core set, which we will look at some point in the future, but I did look at both X-Wings and they are identical. And looking at the size of this model, it is a tad over 1 3/4 inches long. Now, we do have a lot to cover. We're going to look at the dials and tokens, the cards, put on the stand, check out that beautiful mold, the paint, compare it, and then we'll be done. So let's get moving. And now it's time for that dial token roll call. 1 maneuver dial. And to go with the maneuver dial, this is all the maneuvers the T-70 can do. 2 ship tokens, which are double-sided. 2 focus tokens. 2 evade tokens. 1 stress token. 1 critical hit token, 2 target lock tokens, 3 shield tokens, and finally 6 ship ID tokens. So that does it for all the dials and tokens. Now let's take a look at the cards. And now, starting off looking at the upgrade cards, like always, I will read the name of the card, and if you would like to pause the video and read the paragraph below, by all means do so and continue when you're done. First up, Cool Hand, Targeting Astromech, Weapons Guidance, Integrated Astromech, and finally, Advanced Proton Torpedoes. So that does it for all the upgrade cards, so now let's take a look at the ship cards. And now for those ship cards, we have Elo Asti, Red Ace, Red Squadron Veteran, and finally, Blue Squadron Novice. So that does it for all the ship cards, so now let's take a quick look at the stand before we look at the beautiful model. And just like all X-Wing miniatures that we looked at, you get 2 pegs you combine to make 1 rod, a nice base, plug it in like so, grab your model, be very gentle, place it on like so, and then you're good to go. And now it's finally time to take a look at the T-70 X-Wing's mold. Like in all my reviews, I will go over the major sections of the vehicle, and I'll get a nice close-up look to see all the fine details this baby has to offer. So if you've been watching my channel, we should all be experts by now about the parts of the X-Wing. We have our nose cone, fuselage, canopy, astromech droid, torpedo launchers on the side, looking pretty good, S-foil motors in the back, looking magnificent right there in the aft section. For the bottom, we have our peg port for the stands, some nice recesses here, line work I should say. We have our 4 engines looking amazing, and they go all the way back to the aft, recessed. Pretty nice. And now moving on to the wings, they look amazing. Very accurate to what we saw in the film. I do have to say, I love the recessed sections right there near the engines. Beautiful job there. And we will have a closer look, like I mentioned before, in just a few seconds. Now, in version 1.0, the model is static. There's no moving parts. However, in the second edition, the wings will be able to close and open, which is amazing. And finally, we have our laser cannons, which look amazing. I think they did a decent job with them. So that covers all the major parts of the T-70. So now, let's get a close-up view and see what this baby has to offer. Alright, getting as close as I can, we will begin looking at the nose cone. As we can see, it is a little divoted in the front. Turning that around, you can see it is raised more than the main body, but it all blends in at the bottom. Speaking of the bottom, we do have some minor line work leading right down to the peg port for the stand, and some minor molding. Now coming up, we do have our torpedo launcher on both sides. A little bit recessed, but looking really cool. And then we have our canopy, which may seem very basic to some. However, I love it because the windows are slightly recessed, which is amazing. I think that came out great. Now coming down from the canopy, we do have some raised rectangles right here. Looking pretty good. I like they did that, so that way it's not basically a flat model. There is some life to it. Nice. Now moving on back, we have our astromech droid right here, and not really any detail to talk about, but it's nice they put something there. Moving down, we have some line work, and look at all that. Beautiful amounts of detail. This is great stuff. Then we have a nice design in the back. And then my favorite spot of the ship. Look at that magnificent detail. I love how it's a circle and recessed. Tons of little modules. Brilliant stuff. And then that takes us right back to the bottom of the ship. Just a beautiful vessel. So now let's take a look at the wings. Now we just looked at the center of the X-wing, but in my opinion where this model shines is with the engines and the wings themselves. As we can see with the intakes, beautifully done, nice and recessed. I love them quite a bit. So now let's take a closer look. And nothing on these engines are flat. Everything is raised up and modules and paneling. Different little molded sections. Just a fantastic job. I really like it quite a bit. And even when we get to the back of the engines, look at all that. Looks like a little pipe on there. And then the engine themselves are recessed, which is a nice touch. I would have liked a little red or orange paint in here, but you get what you get. Now for the wings, they do look a little flat, but it's not too bad. It's pretty cool. And that's the same for the underneath as well. But what I love is the laser cannons. Nicely molded, beautifully done. I think those came out great, and you can see all the little details on there. Just a fantastic job. I especially like the tips. Beautiful. Now the bottom wings are a little thinner, just like in the film. And they hug the cannons just like the top. Because the wing sort of bends over. As you can see, it sort of like hugs the laser cannon, which is an awesome design. But pretty cool for the bottom of the wing. Again, a little flat, but when we get to that engine, look at all that detail. Amazing stuff. I think that came out great. I love all the little lines and modules. Just fantastic stuff. I know I say that all the time, but I don't know how else to really convey how I'm feeling about it. It's just a beautiful mold for something so small. Now, let's take a look at the insides of these wings. And now getting as close as I can to the recesses in the wings. These things are awesome. As you can see, there's some tanks, different modules. And remember, these ships are a little bit over 1 3/4 inches long. So the fact that they have all these amazing details just blows my mind. You can see the tanks and other modules on the top. Looking at the other side. Just look at that. That is fantastic stuff. And then at the top, again, we can see the different tanks. That is beautiful. And that's everything I have to say about the mold of the T-70. In short, it may be a small model, but as we've seen, it is jam-packed full of nice details. It really is a great piece. So now let's take a look at the paint. And now taking a look at the paint of the T-70, we have about 7 different colors here, believe it or not. The first one is a nice tan color, which is the main color of the vessel. Very nice, very accurate to the film. I do like it quite a bit. I think it was a great color choice. Then we have glossy black for the canopy windows. Looking great. Then we have gray for the canopy, astromech droid, and the openings of the engines, which look amazing. I think it was a great color choice as well. Then we have dark gray for the rectangles on the wings, or the call sign if you will. And that's on the tops and the bottoms. Next we have black for the engines. Looking pretty good. I think that came out decent. Next we have blue coming down the fuselage of the ship. Looking very neat. And then we have it on the tops and bottoms of the wings. Looking sharp. And finally, we have a nice wash on here, which covers all the fine details and really brings the ship to life. So that does it for the mold and the paint of the T-70 X-Wing. So now let's put this baby back on a stand, compare it to some other ships, and then we'll be done. And now for a quick size comparison with the T-70 X-Wing seen in the center. On the left-hand side, we have the original TIE Fighter looking really good. And finally, on the right hand side, we have the original T-65 X-Wing, a nice model, and they all go great together. And that does it today for my review of the Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game T-70 X-Wing Expansion Pack. Now, the T-70 was first seen in Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens, and for the ship size, again, it's a little over 1 3/4 inches long. Now, I do enjoy the T-70 X-Wings. I think they're great ships. I'm more of a T-65 fanboy, but credit where credit's due, it is a great model. Now, do I recommend it for the game of X-Wing? So game-wise, let's start with that. You get your maneuver dial, your tokens, 5 upgrade cards, and 4 ship cards, everything you need to play this in your squadron. And play it you should, because the T-70 is newer than the T-65, therefore, it's a little more powerful. So I fully recommend it for your squad. Now, from a model collector's standpoint, this ship is beautiful. Looking at the mold, the detail is absolutely breathtaking. We have little race sections, recesses, the engines, the laser cannons, everything's there that should be, and it's amazing. Paint-wise, we have 7 colors working together to really bring this ship to life, and it is a beautiful ship. I think it's very accurate to the film, and well worth your money if you're trying to collect all these. So to wrap all my thoughts together, I fully recommend this ship. Not only is it great for the game, but it's great for your shelf if you're just collecting these bad boys. Now, if you're looking to buy this ship, I recommend Amazon or eBay or other online sellers. Usually it will cost you around $14.99, depending on where you go. And keep in mind, the second edition of X-Wing will have its own Resistance X-Wing with wings that open and close, so keep that in the back of your head. So that's everything I have to say about this beautiful ship today. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, hit that like button. And if you'd like to see new reviews every Thursday, subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.